About to take you to the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court. That's where we find Linda Mnisi. Linda, this process taking much longer than the other appearances of accused number 1 to 4. So accused number 5, Thabo Bester, had quite a bit to say today, wanting to address the courts and the magistrate, the presiding magistrate, shutting that down. Just remind the viewer that's joined us what he had to say through his lawyer.
Well, Thabo Bester has indeed raised concerns around his safety at the prison which he has been kept, the Mangaung prison. This is a prison that the escape allegedly happened in, and his legal representatives making submissions to the court that they would like to be the ones that provide him with food. But, the court saying that it cannot interfere with those processes, as the departments involved are the ones that will handle those details. We'll speak to their lawyers in just a moment. As you can see, we're trying to, speak to them.
To address the court
Gentlemen,
on matters regarding that. Let me bring those lawyers in at the moment. Let me bring in Mr. Marvin Kapire, who's with the Ishmael attorneys, as well as Advocate Pella, who's also representing. Let's start with you, Marvin Kapire. Serious concerns raised by your client. You say it's not eaten for 24 hours.
That's my instruction.
That's your instruction.
Yes.
Not eat the food.
Well,
he's too scared to eat the food.
That's indeed the instruction. I mean, I haven't told the court. I do not want to say for obvious reasons, but we do understand why he would be concerned with eating the food.
Why?
It's food provided by the very same institution. Which, look, this trial is going to be a very lengthy trial. But can I just reserve my comments? I had agreed with this gentleman to meet later at the office.
Yeah, the state also made an argument to say, but this is the food that he's been eating while in the custody of correctional services under, of course, G4F, prior to the escape. What would those concerns be now, and with the presiding officer saying?
The circumstances have changed. Since his time in custody, he's now an escapee. There are many questions still to be asked. But I did say, can I just reserve my comments?
Are you back suggesting that he...
No, I'm not.
You're not suggesting.
I said, can I just...
Does he fear for his life?
Can I just reserve my comments? I think Advocate Pella, like we discussed earlier, he will conduct the interview with you guys. I also need to go down and consult Mr. Bester before he's ferried away.
Before you leave, does he fear for his life? Last comment from you.
We said there are safety concerns.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
We're going to bring in another lawyer, Dudu, as you would have heard there. That is the advocate that was making submissions before the court. Let's just take a listen to what he has to say.
Not necessarily, Criselda. We work on a daily basis with Mr. Kapidi, but on this case, Mr. Kapidi is the one that consulted with the client, is the one that took the instructions. So the questions that I'm going to respond to is the questions relating to the issues of law that were raised in the courtroom. But regarding the interview with Mr. Bester, Mr. Kapidi is the one that did the interview. He even went down now to the court cells. So the questions that I may respond to are the ones relating to the arguments that were presented before court as the legal expert.
Will you be making an application to remove him from Mangaung prison? Why not that application and bringing an application about food instead?
Mr. Kapidi reserved that comment, so I wouldn't like to go to that territory that he already requested not to respond to. But as for the proceedings, the media and the people of South Africa have heard that the matter has been postponed to the 16th of May 2023 for further investigations. And Mr. Kapidi was earlier saying, can the case date be brought closer, so that the matter can be finalized speedily? As you know, that it is the right of every accused person to have a speedily and fair trial. But the court, together with the state, did indicate that it's not going to be an easy matter. The investigation is still going to be done. And there is also a letter from a director of public prosecution indicating that this matter is going to be heard at the High Court.
What's the logic behind What is the logic behind wanting...
How do you?
Have you addressed or have you raised these issues with the correctional services?
No. Mr. Kapidi is going to take care of that. Like I said, I'm only going to outline the legal issues that were indicated in the court. But the personal circumstances relating to Mr. Bester, Mr. Kapidi is dealing with that. And like he indicated to you earlier, he's not prepared to give any comment until such time that he takes further instructions, as he went down the court cells now to take further instructions. So the circumstances regarding Mr. Bester, I won't comment, but I can comment about the processes that took place inside the court.
What are the rationale behind seeking the documents relating to extradition?
Any accused person is entitled to get information that is going to be used against him when we go to trial. That's why when we talk about the discovery of the court file, which is the docket, before you proceed with the trial, you must be finished with each and every information that is relevant and that is going to be used against the...
But we're not at pre-trial stage.
Yes, we are not at the trial stage. However, that is what Mr. Kapidi was trying to address with the court. And that matter has now been dismissed, so I don't think it's the main issue now, because the court didn't entertain it, saying it doesn't have a local standard to entertain such.
Do you not trust that you will get all the documents that you want? Do you not trust that the police will give you all the documents that you want as required by the law?
No, every accused employee is entitled to the documents. I think Mr. Kapidi is outlining everything with Mr. Thabo.
So why now? Why are you asking for those documents now when you can get them at a later stage?
No, Mr. Kapidi was asking for them now as the instruction of the client. However, if those documents are going to be used during the trial, they will be discovered once the investigation is complete. Mr. Kapidi was only conveying the request of the client. And like you said, the court didn't entertain that because this matter is going to go to High Court. The investigations will have to be completed. Once completed, the legal team will be finished with the particulars.
Would you say that...
What's the logic behind having you or wanting Thabo Bester to appear here sooner than a month's time? We've heard from the state that this investigation is going to take longer than a month. Why do you want to come here sooner than that?
Like I said earlier, Mr. Kapidi brought that as the request of Mr. Bester. And as Mr. Kapidi have indicated in the court, it was around the safety measures, including food, and then that at the end of the day, when you media were interviewing him, he said he's reserving the comment. So for now, I'll say that matter is neither here nor there because the court made a ruling that they cannot give institution an instruction.
So what's
what to do.
Do you plan to raise this with correctional services because this court has basically not has failed to entertain it?
The matter has been remanded until 16 May for further investigations. I think it will only be fair to hear on the 16th of May what has been covered, what is still outstanding, and the way forward. Remember, the state will also bring the application on the 16th of May regarding their next step. And I don't want to comment on behalf of the state. I'm not from the state.
So would you say that you have placed the cart before the horse, given that you yourself admit that all the documents will be gotten at pre-trial stage?
I wouldn't say Mr. Kapidi did that. Mr. Kapidi, remember, every lawyer is working on the instructions of the client. And if you don't convey the instructions of the client, who are you representing? Because you must take the instructions of the client and place them before the magistrate. That's why at some point, Mr. Kapidi wanted to allow the accused, Mr. Thabo Bester, to engage the court himself directly, of which the magistrate ruled out.
Do you think that's a wise move as a defense? Do you think it's a wise move to allow your client to address the court?
The thing is, it's not whether it's a wise move or not. The question is it allowed in law? That should be the question. Yes, it is allowed in law. Because sometimes if you don't convey what is the client's instructions, the client will terminate you and go to someone that will properly represent him. And you will be not properly representing the client when you place on record what is not the instructions from the client.
But as a defense, you have the duty to advise your client on what the strategy will be and not place him in a position where, all his requests will be shut down by the court.
Any defense lawyer during the proceedings is bound, when the accused is indicating that he has got something to say, you are bound to ask the court to approach, you approach your client, and you take further instructions. And after approaching the client, it's only fair to tell the court, why did you approach the client and what are the instructions? And that is exactly what Mr. Kapidi did.
Are you considering joining Nandi Pamakudumana, representing her, given that we understand that yesterday's appearance was merely the first and she might even change legal representation?
I'm not sure about the legal representation. Remember, the client is the one that will make the decision who to represent and so on. So I wouldn't like to comment, but I don't have the instructions to represent her. I don't know about other lawyers.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, thank you very much. That is the legal representative for Thabo Bester, who made his first court appearance today under, of course, heavy security. Quite a number of concerns raised with the court, the issue around security, saying that while the state is raising the security risk involved in this matter, their client, Thabo Bester, also has, similar concerns, raising concerns around, food, saying that he hasn't eaten in the past 24 hours and would like this court to make an order that his legal representatives be allowed to bring him food in prison. He says he's being kept at the Mangaung prison, which is the prison where he's said to have escaped. He fears, of course, a number of issues, but also raising another issue around the extradition. This, of course, is around him being brought back from Tanzania, confirming to this court that he doesn't indeed have an ID document. But the court making a ruling in the submissions that have been made, because the legal team wanted Thabo Bester sitting in the dock, chained and cuffed, to stand up and address this particular court. But the court saying that he has legal representation, and the legal representation would be the one that would take instructions and address the court. So after that, of course, these are the submissions that we heard around the food as well as, the extradition documents. It's quite interesting that they speak about these documents, because they even admit that at pre-trial stage they will be granted these documents. You'll remember that in criminal proceedings, what would then happen is that, an accused person will be furnished with all the evidence that will be laid during trial. This is evidence that will be used against the accused person for them to adequately prepare themselves. This is no exceptional case. They will also be granted that opportunity to get those documents. So we were asking around the rationale for asking for those documents, and what they're telling us is that these are the instructions of the client. This is what the client wants, and what the client wants is conveyed to the court. So unsuccessful in their bid to get those documents, they were told to contact the relevant departments in relation to those documents, because the court cannot interfere with those processes. So the issue around the postponement, then it was postponed to the 16th of May. You'll remember the state made a request to get a postponement of a month, citing that he's already a sentenced prisoner and that there would be no need for him to come back to court on Monday, when Dr. Magudumana and the others will be coming to court to make an application for bail. He's subsequently decided to abandon that bail and has agreed to coming back in a month's time. The state telling the court that the investigations are broad and they will need time, and by the 16th of May we're told that those investigations will not have been concluded. So at this moment, what we know is that this matter has been postponed to the 16th of May. It will be quite interesting to hear what the defense will come back with, given the fact that some of the things that they've raised today were not granted. Will they, approach the Department of Correctional Services, given the security concerns that they have? That remains to be seen. But after the break, we'll give you more news and views.